What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here, as always, on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am the Renegade J.J. Williams, and today I'm going to be discussing from 2010, Hunt to Kill, starring Stone Cold Steve Austin, Gil Bellows, Marie Avgeropoulos, Gary Daniels, Adrian Holmes, Michael Eklund, and Eric Roberts. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me once again here, as always, on Renegades Reviews for another daily movie review. Like I said in the intro, I'm going to be discussing Hunt to Kill today, starring Stone Cold Steve Austin, as we continue our month of movies starring wrestlers. Our film begins in Texas with Border Patrol agent Jim Rhodes and his partner Lee Davis. They're keeping watch on a trailer. It's a stakeout. And the trailer appears to be abandoned, but they're not really sure what's inside it, what's going on. They're just watching this trailer. During the stakeout, Lee gives Jim a gift, a watch with a wristband that can be unraveled in case of an emergency. Jim decides it's time to make a move on the trailer, so he calls for backup. Jim and Lee go inside and they find what appears to be an abandoned meth lab. Two men come up from a trap door in the floor, shooting Lee. Jim kills the two men, but a third begins to open fire from underneath the trailer. Jim makes the man come up through the trap door, and Lee kills the man and tells Jim to run. Jim leaves reluctantly, running out of the trailer as it explodes, killing Lee and the other assailant. We then fast forward 4 years, and now Jim and his rebellious daughter, Kim, are living in the mountains of Lowry, Montana. Meanwhile, over in Reno, Nevada, a man named Lawson and his crew have just robbed the Palacio Hotel and Casino. Lawson takes the millions of dollars worth of bearer bonds that they stole, and he's going to go cash them out so that they can split the money up. However, he pulls a fast one, and in the bags that the crew thinks the money is in is a bomb. And he's intending to completely wipe out his crew, which includes his girlfriend, Dominica, and his right-hand man, Banks, and keep all the money for himself. Banks defuses the bomb and plants a tracking device onto Lawson. And thanks to the tracking device, him and the gang are able to track him and follow him and attempt to get the money back. So Banks, Dominica, who goes by Dom, so that's what I'm going to call her the rest of the review, and the rest of the crew, Jensen, Geary, and Crab, vow to get the bonds back and get their revenge on Lawson. Now, back in Montana, Kim tells her dad that she's going to her friend Megan's house and help her pack for a trip. Well, a little bit later, Jim gets a phone call from Sheriff Westlake telling him that Kim is in his office for shoplifting. Shortly after that, Banks and crew come into the sheriff's office trying to find Lawson, trying to see if they can get any help and assistance in finding this missing man. Sheriff doesn't want to help them. He feels that Banks is suspect of something. And Jim comes in to find Banks and his crew beating the sheriff. Banks believes that Lawson is in Montana because of the tracking device. And he thinks that Lawson is going to try to cross the border into Canada by foot. Banks tells Jim that the sheriff hasn't been very accommodating to, a citizen's needs. So he kills the sheriff right in front of Jim and Kim. Banks then tells Jim that he wants him to guide the crew through the mountains to find Lawson. And in order to make Jim comply, Banks takes Kim as a hostage, not knowing that Kim is Jim's daughter. And tells Jim that if he screws up, she's going to die. Now, it's a grueling trek through the mountains. At one point, Crab attempts to rape Kim. Jim catches him, beats him up, breaks several of his bones. And at this point, it comes out that Kim is, in fact, Jim's daughter, which makes Banks all the happier because now he knows he has some serious leverage. Jensen shoots Crab, killing him, putting him out of his misery. One, because he tried to rape the girl. Two, because all the broken bones, he's not going to be able to keep up. He's going to slow the crew down. So may as well just put him down out of his misery. After a couple days of searching, they find Lawson and the money. And Dom kills Lawson. Jim uses the watch band that he has to rappel a cliff to go and fetch the money for the crew. Because, he's trying to do everything he can to make sure Kim doesn't die. When he gets back to the top, Banks doesn't see need for him anymore, so he sends him plunging off the cliff, leaving him to die. Jim survives, of course, and he begins to go into hunter mode. One of your guys tried to rape my daughter. You just tried to kill me. My daughter's life is in jeopardy. I'm out for blood now, basically. Jim's ready to seek his revenge on Banks and his crew. Banks forces Kim now to try to guide them through the woods. Jim turns some branches into spears and finds a crossbow. Banks and Geary get into an argument, so Banks beats him up and leaves him behind. Jim finds Geary and shoots him 3 times with the crossbow. Geary coughs up some information that Banks has now decided to take Lawson's plan and go to Canada. And Geary begs Jim not to shoot him again, but Jim puts an arrow right into Geary's chest, killing him. Jim continues to track the others, and he confronts Jensen, who's a martial arts expert. The two men fight it out, both getting several good blows on each other. And Jim kills Jensen by stabbing him with a broken tree branch. Very, very bloody, gory kill. If you're into horror movies, you're going to like that one. If you're not into horror movies, it may be kind of cringeworthy for you. Fair warning. Well, after Jensen gets soft, Banks begins to wonder where he is. It's not like him to go MIA like that. He gets an uneasy feeling about the whole situation. Dom tells Banks they need to keep moving. Jim finds them and throws one of his spears Banks moves out of the way and it hits Dom, killing her, which infuriates Banks because even though Dom was Lawson's girlfriend, Dom and Banks kind of had something going on the side. And out of the whole group, Dom was the only one to really show any mercy towards Kim. So Jim is a little bit upset that he got Dom as well. I mean, all of them were going to have to perish. But if she had ended up being the lone survivor, he probably would have let her live because she had shown the most care towards Kim. You can tell he was aiming for Banks, and he was mad that he didn't get Banks. So Kim tries to escape after that, but Banks doesn't allow it. Banks takes Kim with him, and he finds an outpost where there's 3 Canadian cops and 3 ATVs. Banks ends up killing the cops and then knocks Kim down, grabs one of the ATVs, and takes off. Jim finds Kim, tells her to take an ATV and go get help. Jim then takes the last ATV to chase Banks down. Once Jim catches Banks, the two fight it out. Jim chases him into what appears to be an abandoned factory down a hill. Jim beats Banks up, hits him in the face with a shovel, knocking him down. Jim thinks the fight is over, but Banks gets up and tries to shove Jim through a catwalk guardrail. Jim is able to turn the tables, though, and he shoves Banks down to a pile of wooden skids below. Jim grabs the bonds so he can return them. He goes outside and he sees Kim, who tells her dad, I couldn't leave you. Banks stumbles outside and says, "Did you think you could take my money?" Jim tells Kim to get back, and he jumps on one of the ATVs. Banks tries to taunt Jim, saying, "You can't kill me." Jim replies with, "When I hunt to kill," which then causes the whole Peter Griffin reaction. He said the title of the movie. Jim floors the gas on the ATV and he rams it directly into Banks, pinning him against the wall inside the building. Gas is leaking from the ATV. And again, Banks taunts him because he's not dead. He's just pinned up against a wall. Well, Kim suggests to her dad that he kill Banks for everything that he's done. So Jim fires a flare gun at the ATV, causes an explosion, and finally kills Banks. Jim and Kim are happy to have survived the ordeal, but they know that it's going to be a long walk home from where they are as our movie ends. This was an interesting one. I don't know. I didn't like it as much as I enjoyed Knockout with Stone Cold. It was definitely good, though. Michael Eklund was back in this one, much like he was in Vendetta. I believe I mentioned when I did Vendetta that I saw that Michael Eklund was going to be popping up a couple more times this month. Here he was as Geary. In Vendetta, he was the warden. So, I think he's going to pop up in at least one more movie this month, if I'm not mistaken. I think he'll be in another Stone Cold movie. If I'm not mistaken there, don't quote me. I did enjoy it, like I said. I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed Knockout. Knockout definitely had some heart to it. This one was just your standard action fare. Not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely not in the same league as Knockout. My rating is going to be 3 out of 5 stars. for Hunt to Kill. What do you guys think that have seen it? Let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comment box below as always. I'll reply to them. Might even read one on Renegades recap at the end of the month. Let's not forget to get out there, get those hashtags trending on social media. Hashtag Casa D18 Studios, hashtag Renegades Reviews, hashtag Renegade Returns, and of course the ever popular hashtag Shenanigans. We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade JJ Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag Statboy Approved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. Make sure you get out there, do what that commercial just said. Go to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network. Get you your official t-shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, Meachamania, and more. Get you your official shirts for the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, your Renegade JJ Williams shirt, Dad's Not Always on Wrestling, Statboy Sports Bar, and so much more. Tomorrow, right here on another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively, as always, on the Casa D18 Studios channel. Make sure you join me when I will be discussing Hulk Hogan and Mr. Nanny. This is going to be another classic and definitely another fun one you're not going to want to miss. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching me as you do each and every day right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.